Hey, well, let's do a little, I guess, what is it called? I guess a question and answer type thing. So I just want to kind of find out where everybody's at and what your needs are and maybe some things going on right now that you have questions about. And also some things that are exciting that are happening for you. So who wants to go first?
Wait, who's going first?
Anyone? Do you want to do it, Jessica?
Sure. Okay, so just kind of an update of where I'm at and how things are going?
Yes. I'm going to write here.
Well, I had a feeling you would ask, so I've been wondering exactly what I would say. So I feel like I definitely am having my ups and downs. I went on a girls' trip last week, so I was on vacation, and that was very tricky. I'm not really sure how people leave their house and eat like this. But I did the best that I could, and it was definitely not perfect, and I definitely was not feeling great, I think, because of what I was eating. But yeah, so that was learning for me, I guess. So learning some ideas and tips and tricks to do when you're out. I mean, because it was social eating every hour of the day for so many days, and we were always out to eat. So that was a little bit tricky.
Tell us what you did.
So we at the hotels that had breakfasts, they had fruit. So I would like grab tons of the fruit.
Good.
And have like my sister, my mom go get me like a banana. And anyway, so I was able to do a lot of fruit in the morning, which was good. Lunchtime, I just sort of order salads most of the time. I did bring some, fruit and snacks with me, but it only lasted so long.
Yeah.
And dinner is, whether on my trip or at home, dinner's always when it's hard for me. Usually by the evening, I'm ready to eat a real meal, and I kind of feel like I don't know if I'm sure it's a mental thing, but it's like, I'm just ready for like food, so dinner's probably the hardest. And then like sugar's something that I always struggle with. And then just being in that atmosphere where everybody's eating treats, and that was tricky.
Yeah.
So that was probably the hard parts. But generally, all in all, I feel like for me, if I was to look at my life now and look at my life before, I feel like I've made huge changes. Like huge changes. Like I feel like, I'm a rock star. I'm doing so good. So I feel like, and I feel like I'm learning a lot. I feel like what I'm doing right now is good, because I feel like I'm doing like lifestyle changes. I feel like I'm learning things and implementing things that I'll be able to do, forever. From where I'm at to where like you are, or where I maybe ought to be, I feel like I still have a very long way to go. But I'm somewhere in between. I'm somewhere in the reasonably raw, I feel like I'm making a lot of better choices, but still have lots to learn and do better with.
Okay. Tell me some of the, that's a really good synopsis, by the way. So tell me some of what, sorry, I'm just getting this ready here. Some of the emotions that may have come up during the time that you were with family and socializing and things. What emotions came up for you?
So definitely definitely feeling like, like with the sugar and stuff, definitely feeling like, I want to eat that. Like I used to like eat stuff like that all the time, and kind of feeling deprived. I guess for me, sometimes it's hard when I'm in those social situations, and I'm choosing not to eat it, then I feel like I'm spending the night in my head thinking about like what I'm not eating, or, rather than like experiencing the moment,
Uh-huh.
So learning to just like shift from thinking about the food to just like being present is something that I can work on. Other emotions I've expressed to you, Wendy, is, when I do eat those things that I know aren't great for my body, and then I do have like the headache or the tired or, those symptoms, I definitely get a lot of frustration, feeling like, do I really have to eat perfectly in order to feel normal, when I'm seeing all these other people around me that are eating all these things and they seem to be fine, So the comparison is probably something that I could work on not doing. Yeah.
Okay. Julia and Sandra, can you relate to this?
I can relate totally.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right, here's some tips for you. I'd like you all to write these little statements down because this is going to help you. And if you don't catch it the first time, you can re-watch this and write it down again. But for feeling deprived or feeling like you need to compare yourself to people, you can say statements like, I'm eating this because I choose to. When I eat healthy food, my body feels amazing. I get tons of energy and I feel great when I choose to eat this way. Those types of things are going to help you to get out of your head like you're talking about and to get into the moment of why you're doing this. We need to have reminders about that. I write articles for this magazine, the Utah Valley Health and Wellness, and the first article that I wrote in here talks a lot about this. So let's see. Actually, it may have been one of the other ones. Let me see if I can find it because there were some really good tips. Okay, it's called Eating Healthy Under Pressure. So some of the tips, and I'm going to be putting these up on my website so that you guys can access them because they're really great articles about all sorts of different topics to help educate people. But for socializing, for the guest, you can eat before you go so that you're full and enjoy socializing without worrying about the food. Position yourself in a different part of the room away from the food as you talk. Bring something to share with everyone that your family or friends love and be ready to share the recipe. Choose larger amounts of the foods that you can have, like you did, Jessica, with the fruit, which is great. So your salads, fruits, vegetables, and skip what you'll regret later. Go early to help the host prepare the food and politely ask if you can leave the croutons on the side of the salad instead of putting them in, for example. If the host takes extra care to make something special for you, be sure to thank them and show your appreciation for their extra attention to detail. Put your thick skin on and don't worry about what other people say about your food. Realize that many people aren't trying to be insensitive. They genuinely want to understand your situation. Educate them about it and be open, honest, and kind in your replies. If you are the parent of a child with special food needs, bring something for them and eat or share to ease the burden of the host. Teach your child to be polite and not make a big deal about what they can't or don't like to eat. They can decline what's being offered and thank the host for their hospitality. And keep your conversation about a variety of different topics other than just food. I think sometimes we think too much about the food and it kind of over-consumes us. And so if we can start thinking about other things, get yourself out of the kitchen. Those 6 steps that I talked to you about in, I believe it was the first week, we talked about the demons. And those are some of the demons that you were talking about, Jessica. So one of the big ones is to get yourself out of the kitchen and go and do other things because food is not the center of your life like it used to be, or it shouldn't be, you know. And that's one of the things that has helped me a lot. After, I don't know, I don't consider myself a typical chef anymore because I'm not getting in the kitchen and making all these fabulous dishes like I used to, spending all this time in there. I just go and I get things quickly, and that allows me to have a life, and I actually like it a whole lot more. So if you can get your attention off of the food and start living and enjoying life and realizing that this food is for energy and for nutrition, and so you feel amazing, and it's fuel for your body and for nutrition. Stop thinking of it as something to console you or to comfort you or to help you with those emotions. That's what your relationships are for. That's what the healing in your life is for. If you need to, I think there's We need to take a look at your contracts, each of you, so that we can see which ones, because I've negotiated several different things with different people. But if you have in your contract that you get some energy healing course or energy healing sessions, then we need to get those scheduled so that you can start getting rid of a lot of the emotions that are attached to this. So contact me and let's get that scheduled up, okay? All right, let's hear from Julia and Sandra. Julia, do you want to tell us how things are going for you, please?
Well, for the most part, each day I just try and take it one day at a time. Some days I've done pretty well. Like I was saying, I've started out my mornings with a lot more fruit that I was never a fruit eater. So I've been doing that like every morning. I've been making a more conscious effort to eat things that are not cooked, but I'm still cooking things. But when I see them, I think it's not, I don't want to eat this. It's not healthy, but I cook for my family still. So, but you know, I've had some good days and then I've had some really rough days. I did make a couple recipes from your book. I had like the zucchini noodles, and I've just made more of an effort. And we tried the brownies. That's super yummy, super sweet. It was way crazy. Yeah, my kids, my son really liked those. So
good.
But yeah, it's, you know, I still have some health issues it's a struggle. So my moods have been, you know, I've had some mood swings and some days where I just feel like I want to give up, but then I feel better the next day, or I tried to, you know, to put my mindset, change my thinking like you were talking about last week. So it's just, I just try to take it day by day. So, and I watched some of your other videos, like on how to hold a knife, and surprisingly, I've not been holding a knife right, apparently. I thought I was, and I just thought that was really humorous all these years, and so it's kind of fun to like hold it correctly and feel different about that. It was just kind of silly, but it was good. I really thought when I went to the video, I thought, oh, what am I going to learn here that I don't already know? And I was quite surprised what I was doing. So anyway, I've done a few things, but I'm still working on the emotion, I think, a lot of the emotional aspect of it, because that's where I have a lot of anxiety still, and just, you know, we're not supposed to focus, like you said, food shouldn't be encompassing our life, but that's kind of how I'm still feeling like every day. What am I going to make for dinner? What am I going to feed my family? What am I going to eat? You know, it's just kind of one of those things where I just stress about it.
Yeah. So. Well, I understand that, and it has been a big part of our lives, but we can start thinking of the mono meals, you know, just eating a lot of the fruit in one sitting.
Yeah.
I'm eating around 6 to 8 times a day. My sister came over one time, I think it was last year, and she came for Christmas, and she just watched me all day, and she goes, "You are eating all the time." I said, "Yeah, I do." And it's just, when I'm hungry, I eat. And the thing that's interesting is that, you know, for a while there, I noticed that my stomach was extending quite a bit, and I gained a little bit of weight. And recently, I started doing the 80% fruit about 2 years ago. And it was about a year ago, because I wasn't quite ready for that yet. So I'm teaching you these things, but I know that you're probably not ready to be there, and that's okay. But I started doing that about a year ago, and my weight did fluctuate. I actually gained weight because my body was trying to figure out what I was doing with the extra carbs. And once I did some more cleansing with juicing and things like that, then my body weight went down to where it needs to be. And in the evening, my stomach is extended a little bit, but then in the morning, I go to the bathroom, number 2, about 4 to 5 times in the morning alone. And that's during, you know, when you go to sleep, you are actually putting yourself through a fast, if you can think of that, because you're not drinking or eating, right? So every night you have this cleansing cycle that's happening. Your body is going through and using the nutrients that you've put in it throughout the day, and it's going through and healing and repairing areas that need it, as well as cleaning things out. And then in the morning, you should have quite a bit coming out if you don't have constipation or anything kind of prohibiting that to happen. So drinking several glasses of water in the morning or doing some apple juice is really good because that extends the fast and helps with the cleansing process throughout the morning. And that's where your fruits come in the morning too, because those are very cleansing and nourishing. So you continue to put in lots of nutrients and you keep the cleansing process going until about lunchtime. But if you're doing a high amount of raw food like what I'm doing, the 80-10-10 way, then your body just, it's like, okay, it knows exactly what to do with that. And I've been amazed at how my body works now. It's just like anything I put in there that doesn't belong, it immediately wants to get rid of it. It's like, this doesn't belong here, we're getting rid of it. And sometimes I'll get some diarrhea or something like that because I can feel my stomach rumbling. It's just like, no, I don't want this in here, so it gets it out. But those types of things, as well as the symptoms that return. And a lot of people say, well, why would you want to eat like that? Because you feel your symptoms so much, like what Jessica was talking about. But when you do eat really well, you get to a point where you don't want it. You guys, this is very similar to what it talks about in the scriptures of when you stop sinning, you have no more desire to do it. Do you know what I mean? When you're eating healthy, you have no desire after a while to eat unhealthy food. It just goes away. So your cravings are going to go away, your sugar addictions, the temptations that you're placed with, it doesn't really matter. My husband goes and gets sugary stuff every once in a while. He got some sugary cereal for the kids, and sometimes he likes to get the chocolate almonds over at Costco. And those have been my weakness. They're rough. You guys laugh because you told me.
They're so good.
So, and I love the texture because they're so soft, and it's the whole experience, the crunch and the chocolate and the sweet and all those things. But and food can be a very sensual experience. And I'll tell you, in our sex-starved culture as Mormons, this can be a huge issue for a lot of people. And that's why a lot of us are overweight and we have sugar like crazy at our events and things like that, because that is our biggest vice, is sugar. So if we can start just flooding the body with its nutrients and with the sugar from the fruit, all of the stuff is going to go away. I promise you. It'll take time, but it will go away. And you'll get down to the size your body wants to be, how it naturally was created to be, and you'll feel fabulous. And look fabulous and have a great life. All right, any other comments or questions, Julia?
No, not that I can think of at the moment. So.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about your red raspberry leaf tea. Are you still drinking that?
Yes, I've been making like a big, huge container every morning, and then I just drink the whole thing throughout the day. It's probably maybe, I don't know. It's probably, I'm trying to think how much I'm drinking. It's a lot more than just 1 cup of tea, probably 4 or 5 cups a day. And as soon as that runs out, so I've been making it every morning. So it's, I had a couple rough days, but it's just the way my cycle goes with all that hormonal stuff. I think it does help. So it's just part of the, I just have to keep doing it.
Okay, and then how about comfrey tea? Have you decided to do that or not?
I want to. I have not gotten that yet. Is that something I can pick up at the Good Earth, like in the leaf form, or?
Yeah, I would do the leaf for the tea. I don't know if they sell it there. I can get it for you though, and you can get a 15% off. Do you want me to order that for you?
Yeah, just like a bag of like leaves I can make a tea out of, or. Yeah.
So Wendy, what's the comfrey tea good for?
Comfrey is a cell proliferate, so it actually heals the skin or other cells much quicker than pretty much anything else. I use it in my salve because it helps with wounds and burns and things, and it I think I told you guys about the lady that had a son who burned himself with soup in his lap, and she used that salve that has comfrey in it, and it had like a month's worth of healing in about 4 days. So it is incredible stuff, and if you take the tea internally, then it can help with whatever needs to be repaired inside. So with her endometriosis, I suggest doing that. And if you don't want to take it internally, then like I said, use a fomentation where you're doing the like a cloth diaper and just soak it in the tea and put it over your abdomen. And that should help your skin soak that in. Okay?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in trying that.
Okay. There's some other things we're going to talk about tonight that may help as well. So stay tuned. Okay, Sandra, let's hear from you.
I've had a really busy 2 weeks. And so I have had a hard time. I haven't done any of your recipes yet to even get to the book. I just got in from Salt Lake today.
Oh, wow.
And so,
Sandra,
anyway,
I wish you would have told me you were here. We could have gotten your cell well-being report done, darn it.
I wrote it. I sent you an email when you asked if we were going to be able to be here tonight. And I wrote a note to that telling you I'd be in Salt Lake.
Oh, shoot. I don't think I got that.
Oh, shoot.
What email do you have for me?
I wasn't sure if I was attending tonight or not. I thought, I don't know when I'm going to be home because I had to take somebody down for surgery, and I didn't know when she's going to get out.
Okay.
So, anyway.
Well, let's try to schedule that.
Okay. I can probably make it maybe sometime before Christmas. I don't know what my schedule. But anyway, the schedule is getting a lot better now, so I can focus more on what we're doing here. But I found that the juice drink that I make up every morning with the fruits and the veggies and all that stuff, you know, at first when I started, I was drinking, like, trying to drink it all through the morning, you know, not through the morning, but like within the hour. And I found that was just overdoing it. But I found that if I drank it throughout the day, I did much better.
Good. What are you adding to the juice?
What am I adding to the? I'm just doing, you know, that Costco thing you buy that has strawberries and blueberries and pomegranates in it. That's in a package. I'm using those fruits, and plus it has the kale in it, and a handful of lettuce. And then I'm adding my bone broth to that, and I'm adding a multivitamin powdered mixture to that.
What is that?
And then water as a base.
What is your multivitamin made out of? Do you have whey protein or anything like that in there?
No, I can't. My body can't handle whey.
Okay, good. I don't know about the bone broth. I think you ought to not do the bone broth in there. I know there's a lot of people who are using that now, but I don't know.
Kind of the reason I did that was because I was trying to build up the calcium in my bones because I do have some osteoporosis going on.
Okay.
So
good. We're going to talk about that tonight too. I'm so excited.
Oh, good. But I found, you know, that when I crave sugar now, and generally when I eat sugar, I don't eat a lot of it because I can't handle a lot of it. But I've started doing raw nuts soaked in salt, you know, and then dehydrating them at a low temp. And that satisfies my sugar craving.
So you're soaking it in salt?
Yeah, you soak it in salt overnight, and then you rinse it off, and then you use the real salt, I mean the really good Himalayan salt or the real salt. I use real. And then just put it in my dehydrator at 105 for as much time as it takes for those whatever nuts I'm doing. And they're delicious.
Okay. May I help you alter that a little bit? Let's soak it in just water and then rinse it off. And don't do the salt.
Oh, really? I love the salt. Maybe.
I know. Because getting too much salt, I think, might be a problem as well. So let's get rid of the bone broth and rid of the salt for a time and see if that helps you feel any better. How are your symptoms doing? Are you getting better with any of those?
Yeah, well, the only symptom I get, if I don't have sit down. I don't have a complete meal. I have to have a complete meal sometime during the day, else I get my jaw aches, and that's really weird. But if I eat a complete meal, then I'm fine. And my meals only consist of like vegetables and some fruits and maybe rice, something like that, or bread. I eat some, a slice of bread with it.
What type of bread are you using?
I'm using the sprouted bread.
Okay, good. And then what do you mean consists of a complete meal? Are you doing animal products or anything like that in there?
No, not much animal products. So I do is chicken, but I really don't like meat.
Okay.
So I will do, like, I'll add sardines. Like if I make a salad, I'll add maybe sardines to my salad or maybe a little bit of chicken to my salad. That seems to make it a little more complete, but not much.
Are those sardines in a can?
They're in a can. Yeah, I get them at Costco.
Okay. That has BPA in them. So there's a lot of BPA is in plastics and in the canned foods that we have. So be careful about that because you could be getting quite a bit leached into those sardines.
Okay.
And then your chicken, you want to make sure that that's organic because that has a lot of hormones that are pumped into it so that the breasts get larger.
Uh-huh.
And it's very unnatural. So just be careful because then those hormones get into your body and cause problems too.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, pretty darn good. Jessica, you looked like you wanted to say something after Julia.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna ask you with when you were talking about like cleansing through the night. So is it wise to try to hold off on eating solids until like later in the afternoon?
Later in the morning is fine. Yeah. However long you feel you need to go, but don't starve yourself. You know, if you just feel like this morning, I just didn't feel like eating until about 11. But I was drinking some apple juice. I had a couple of 16-ounce glasses of apple juice, and then just did some water and stuff, and then I had a green smoothie. And then for lunch, I did my lunch thing, you know. So, yeah, just kind of listen to your body. Sometimes my body says I don't want to eat right now, so I don't do it. I'll just drink a lot of water, and then I have a lot of cleansing. Other times I wake up and I'm hungry, so I'll have several apples. Or lately I've been doing a little bit of, have you guys ever had the mulberries, dried mulberries?
No.
Oh, they're so yummy. The dried ones have kind of a crunch to them, and it's a very sweet flavor, almost like a raisin. But I put those in a bowl, about a cup or two in a bowl, and put some almond milk over the top, or you can use hemp milk. I don't usually do the rice or soy milk very much. They don't have very much nutrients in there.
What about coconut?
What's that?
What about the coconut milk?
You can do coconut milk, just don't do it out of a can.
Okay.
So, and then I put on fresh berries, and sometimes I sprinkle some coconut flakes in there. And you can do a granola. Over at Costco, they have a really good granola right now. It's a grain-free granola. So it has nuts and seeds and coconut in it and dates and honey, I think. So there's no processed sugar in there. So I put some of that on there. And then I have this, it's called So Delicious. It's a yogurt, a coconut yogurt. And I'll put a little bit of that and then just mix it all together. That makes a fabulous breakfast. I even add some bananas in there too. So.
Wow, that sounds yummy.
It's really good. Yeah. So I just kind of play around with different things that I find. It doesn't all have to be, made by hand. You can find some really good things. Today for lunch, I had one of those Donley Farms veggie burgers that I found over at Costco. And I use those for meat substitutes a lot. And I'll put that on some natural yeast bread that's toasted. And then I put on I made some fermented pickles and tomato and lettuce and some avocado. And I ate that for lunch today, and it was yummy.
That sounds good too.
Yeah. So just kind of mix it up and have some fun with these things.
So can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
So you say just listen to your body. I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for like really being able to tune in, because when I listen to my body, it says, I want chocolate chip cookies. It rarely says, I don't want to eat for 3 days. So I know that it's kind of a process that we're in, but I don't know, do you have any, I'm really trying to work on like tuning into my body, or, you know, you taught a little bit of muscle testing, or like, I really want to, I feel like that would be such a beneficial thing for myself and my family to be able to tune into that, but I haven't quite gotten it yet.
That is a great question. I appreciate you asking that. Okay, I want you to go to, did I do this? Yes. Okay, on week 1, when you go back in your book, on page 5, it has the 6 steps to a healthier you, okay? So these are some things that you can really start implementing. Number 3 says, be conscious when you eat. So there's some suggestions that are there. Oh, sorry. Oh, dang it. I don't know that I put all those questions in there for you guys. Okay, I need to give you the questions. There are some questions that you need to ask yourself before you go to the refrigerator.
Is it on page 7? Like, what are the dominant thoughts I think on a daily basis? Are they general?
No, it's more like, okay, I'm going to get those for you.
I think it's in your, is it in your recipe book? I feel like I've read those somewhere.
It may be. Let's take a look in there.
Like, what are you craving and why, kind of a thing?
Yes. Okay, let's see what we've got. Yes, thank you, Jessica. It is on page 13 of the Reasonably Raw book.
Well, I guess I'm doing better with my intuition than I thought.
Yes, good job. You're remembering things. So this is 7 steps to conscious eating. Number 1 is stop and ask yourself questions. So I want you to refer to these often before you start eating. The first question is, what do I really want? So you stop, and you can even close your eyes and listen to your body and say, what do I really want? If it's fruit or vegetables, go for it. If it's sugar, cake, donuts, all those things, bread for comfort, or chips or cheese for the salt and fat, that's also for comfort. And you ask yourself the next question, why do I want it? Identify the emotion that's attached to the craving. What is your motive or intention for eating it? Is it to soothe yourself or comfort, or to numb out or cover up something? Then ask yourself, will it move me toward pleasure or pain? And then what will it do to me afterward? Do I desire the consequences, good or bad? If bad, why? Is there something else that would benefit me more? So all of these things can help you to become more conscious before you eat. And I do realize that, you know, your body is telling you, I just want to have cake or donuts or whatever it is. But then you ask, well, why do I want it? And that gets into a deeper level where you're having to be conscious of what you're desiring. There have been a lot of times when I have wanted to physically hurt myself. And I've done it, it's really been interesting. I did it first with sugar, where I'd eat sugar, and I'm writing a book right now about this experience, and I'm hoping to get this out soon. But it's about just my experience with a cupcake, where my family was downstairs, and I'd made some cupcakes for a client because I used to do the cake decorating, and I had 5 cupcakes left upstairs, and everybody was away, and so I just kind of decided to have one piece. Okay, so I started in, and I could feel the texture. It was nice and soft, and I could smell it. It smelled like buttercream. It looked beautiful because I decorated it all beautifully. And then I bit into it, and you know, I was just salivating, and bit into it, and oh, it was the best flavor I'd ever experienced. It was a strawberry cupcake with this buttercream icing, and it really was at the height of my senses. And it was like to me, it was like a drug, like I was taking a drug in. Once I decided to make that choice, and we're going to talk about this next week. I need to write this down because I forget sometimes the topics we're doing. There's so much to teach you guys. But this was the beginning of the addiction cycle, which I want to go over with you guys next week. Notes. Okay, so once I got to that point of the addiction cycle, I could not control it any longer. It overtook me, and it was frustrating because the next time I was like, okay, well, I've already done this, I want more, because I wanted to have that similar sensation. But every time I had another cupcake and another cupcake, those sensations were less and less. Have you noticed that when you eat sugar? It's like, it's the same thing that happens with alcohol or drugs, is that you get this quick fix or hit, and it feels so good, and then the second time you do it, it's not quite as amazing as the first time. And so you're trying to repeat that, but it's getting less and less, to a point where you start feeling sick. And you know, I'd eat 5 or 6 cupcakes or pieces of cake or whatever. I would indulge like crazy and then make myself feel physically sick. And I remember eating like this all the time, you know, and then I'd eat because I started eating something, and then I was like, well, I've already done it, so I'm just going to eat some more until I don't feel that great. And I kind of analyzed this whole thing and just realized that it was a penance. Like I was sinning, and I was trying to hurt myself physically so that I could, I don't know, what is the word, wound myself, or was kind of like a penance. What's another word for penance? Oh, trying to think. Trying to punish myself. Have you ever had that experience? Any of you?
I have.
Yeah.
And it's not a healthy thing. So then I started realizing, after I started eating really well, that I was doing that with ginger or black pepper, because they're hot. And so I would eat it like crazy and think, oh, this is good for me, but it was hurting my body, and it ended up messing up with my adrenals, and it wasn't good for me. So I had to learn that I can't do this to myself. And I worked through a lot of the emotions that were underneath that, and started to realize that food is not a sin. You know, we think of it in these terms that we use as religious terms. It's just our fuel and our nutrition. So it's getting back to that. How do we view food? You know, what's coming up for us emotionally when we're trying to eat something? Are we trying to hurt ourselves physically? Is there an issue we're dealing with? And if so, what do we need to do to get rid of that completely? And energy healing was what helped me the most. So, does that help?
Very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, are you ready to get going on tonight's stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to have you watch this video for a minute, okay? I want you to listen because we're going to talk about it.
My name is Bruce Lipton, and I'm a former research scientist. My history was based on cloning stem cells. A lot of people think stem cells are a new understanding in science, but I was cloning stem cells 43 years ago in 1967. And through my research, I found a different path in understanding medicine and health with a different view on genetics, which is now called epigenetics, the new science. In school, most people learn the science of genetics, which is the belief that genes control our traits. This science is really based on the fact that we get our genes from our mother and father at the moment of conception, and that these genes at that moment of conception actually will determine the rest of our lives in regard to our physical, emotional, and behavioral characteristics. A new science is called epigenetics. And epigenetics is an understanding that genes are not self-actualizing, meaning genes do not turn on and off. Genes are just blueprints. And the significance of that is that in order to engage a blueprint, it's not the blueprint's activity, it's the contractor's activity, the one who reads the blueprint that controls the blueprint. So in epigenetics, it's a science of how environmental information selects the genes and can modify the readout of the genes. And this becomes very significant because in genetic control, the old story, we are victims of our genetics. And the new story, epigenetics, because we can change the readout of the genes, we can then become masters of our genetic. And this becomes important because we actually control our health with our beliefs, our perceptions, and our attitudes about life. In the world of science that I grew up in, the mechanisms of how life worked were based on what we call Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics is a science that emphasizes the material physical world. So according to Newtonian physicists, if you look at a body, it's like a machine made out of chemicals and controlled by genes. And therefore we look at the nature of the physical activity of the body in regard to its chemistry as controlling its life and its functions. However, there's been a change in our understanding of mechanisms. And rather than the Newtonian physics, this information has been updated by what we call quantum physics. Quantum physics recognizes that although we see an atom as a physical structure, when quantum physicists wanted to find out what the atom was made out of, when they looked inside, rather than finding physical particles, they found that the atom was made out of vibrational energy. And all of a sudden, when you understand this, if matter is made out of energy, then everything in the universe is made out of energy. And therefore, it becomes important to understand that energy is very powerful in influencing what we call matter. So Newtonian physics says matter can only be influenced by other matter, and quantum physics says no, matter can be influenced by the invisible energy fields, and therefore a new kind of healing is available to us using energy vibration rather than physical chemicals. And it turns out that energy vibration as a means of communication is 100 times more efficient than trying to communicate with the body through chemistry. So we have a new understanding of how to control our body, and it's through energy fields and vibrations, which include thoughts. In the world that we live in, which is based on Newtonian physics, where matter is primary, and you mix this with an understanding from Darwinian theory that we're in a competition for fitness and survival, and I would ask a person in this world, and I say, well, how do I know how fit you are? And in this world you say, well, I am very fit because I have this much matter, because matter represents the world, and the more fitness you have, the more matter you have. Matter in our case is represented by money, because that's what you buy the matter with. So the more money you have in this world, then according to the Darwinian principle, then the more fitness you express. But in a world based on quantum physics, which is based on energy, then there are things that are much more important than the physical realm. And some of the things that we understand in the nature of energy are emotions and feelings, such as love and beauty. These are expressions of energy. And in a world of quantum physics, we start to recognize that this is more important than the actual physical possessions. So as we move from this world into the future world on quantum physics, we will surely emphasize more the nature of love and feelings and energy and beauty and harmony over the money and the material expressions that we look at today.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
Very cool.
that's really
Very interesting.
Yeah, to hear a scientist say that feelings were more important than physical possessions, that's incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go over a little bit on page, I didn't number these pages, so you'll probably have to do that yourself. It starts on 41 for week 7 with your workbook in epigenetics. So it says, this week we are going to take a look at the new science called epigenetics. This science is based on quantum physics. So Bruce Lipton talked about how he began cloning stem cells in 1967. He says in school we learn the science of, and in that first underline section there, it's genetics, which is the belief that genes control our traits. This science is based on the fact that we receive our genes from our parents at the moment of conception, and that these genes will actually determine the rest of our lives regarding our, in the next lines, physical, emotional, and behavioral characteristics. The new science is called epigenetics, which is an understanding that genes are not self-actualizing, meaning they don't turn on and off. They are blueprints. That's the next line. The contractor is the one who reads the blueprint that controls the genes. Environmental information selects the genes and modifies the readout of the genes. The old story is that we are victims of our genes. In the new story, we change the readout of our genes. We control our health by our beliefs, attitudes, and perceptions of life. This understanding is very different from what we've been taught growing up, but we now understand that up to 98% of our genes expressing themselves is contributed to our environment, which is nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, mindset, pollution, and chemicals in the environment, and other factors that we have much more control over. Only 2% of our gene expression is actually inherited from our parents and ancestors. And then I want you to write, maybe down there in between, energy vibration is 100 times more efficient than chemistry. Energy vibration is 100 times more efficient than chemistry. He also said love and beauty are more important than physical possessions. Okay, so we talked a little bit last time about our cell well-being report, but I wanted to go over this again because it is based on epigenetics. This is a German technology that uses frequencies from a couple of strands of hair, and we can see what's going on nutritionally inside the body. And then you get a 34-page report detailing the different nutrients that may be deficient, electromagnetic frequencies or EMFs that may be interfering with optimum health. And environmental factors include parasites, mold, fungus, viruses, etc. that may be inside you are causing problems as well. With this report, you can see what needs help in foods that may help you to improve upon these weaknesses through custom food progress tracking sheets. This report is an excellent place to start, and then we can take this information and help you with possible supplementation, herbs, food, exercise, and more to create a plan to help you reach your health goals. So if you haven't gotten one yet, let's get it scheduled. And then you also get a 30-minute consultation afterward to learn how to read it and go over that. Then I can answer your questions. Julia and Jessica, you've already done that, right? We did that with you. Okay. So I also am going to be posting up an interpretation of the cell well-being onto the website. Have you all accessed that on the website? Did you see the videos and the workbooks that are up there now? Did you get the email for that?
The cell well-being.
No, it's for this program, for the group program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Sandra, you haven't looked at that?
I haven't.
Okay, I sent it last week, so there's an email. If you'll take a look, you can go in the search part of your email and search up rawchefwendy@gmail.com, and that should bring it up for you.
Okay.
Okay. There's also an audio available that I will put up from a naturopathic doctor describing her interpretation of reading the report, and it has some really good insights on there, so I'll put that up as well. Let's see. So anyway, knowing all of these things, then there may be some herbs or supplementation or other foods or products that, like shields, that help with the electromagnetic frequencies or other areas of concern. And we offer you 15% off of your order for herbal formulas from Dr. Christopher and on the website at rawchefwendy.com under the Market tab. You can find more information about each product and even a great inexpensive water purifier that I recommend. And I hope that this helps make you helps you to make the right decisions for you. You can always contact me to let me know if you have questions or anything. All right, so any questions on that? Just wanted to go over that real quick. Okay. The difference between vitamins and minerals is that vitamins are organic, so that's the next line, and can be broken down by heat, air, or acid. Minerals are considered inorganic, and they hold on to their chemical structure. So that first line then below that is minerals. We're going to talk about those first. Let's go over a few key minerals needed in the body and discuss what they do. This information can be found in the books Minerals for Genetic Code by Charles Walter. I love this book. It's one that I refer to often. And I'm actually making a book list for you guys. It'll be up on the site hopefully this week. So there's a lot of books I had to go through. It's probably halfway done, but I've got to go in my room and look through all the other books that I have. But this is a really good book because it helps with understanding each of the minerals on the periodic table and what they do in the body. It even goes, he's a chiropractor, so he tells you what meridians they're associated with in different parts of the body. So it's really interesting. A lot of information there. So I've been anemic for as long as I can remember. And it showed up in my blood tests throughout my pregnancies and into my 40s. It wasn't until recently that I really started paying more attention to this from visiting the doctor and getting a diagnosis of severe anemia and being referred to a hematologist, as well as being denied life insurance because it showed up on their lab work for me as well. The doctor prescribed Ferret's IPS liquid iron supplement. I looked at the label and wasn't terribly impressed. It had propylene glycol, which when I looked it up in the dictionary says a liquid alcohol that's used as a solvent and antifreeze and in food, plastics, and perfume industries. It also has some synthetic ingredients ending in the IDE, like sodium hydroxide and sodium saccharin, which is derived from coal tar. We talked about that when we were talking about the labels, right? So have you guys been doing pretty well with reading your labels now?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. It also contained casein from milk. I decided to go ahead and try it anyway, and after using it several times, I felt 100% better. I canceled my appointment with the hematologist and continued taking the iron every day, seeing improvement in the following areas. I was able to breathe better with no more shallow breathing, more energy that's sustainable throughout the day, ability to run without feeling so tired for exercise, was less sensitive to food, my heart isn't hurting, and I have lighter periods. Iron is responsible for attracting oxygen to the body and carrying oxygen to all systems, tissues, and organs. Iron combines with other nutrients to produce vital blood proteins and is involved with food metabolism. Without iron, the body cannot survive long since the metabolism would decrease and atrophy. Iron in the body ensures oxygenation of blood, converts hematin, H-E-M-A-T-I-N, to carry oxygen to cells. So that's the next line there to fill in. Improves circulation, augments tissue oxidation, and attracts oxygen to the body. So knowing that, what some of the things that I was dealing with was I wasn't getting enough oxygen. And that was causing problems with my food metabolism. And the oxygen wasn't being carried very well to the cells. I had really bad circulation. So another one of the things that I noticed is that my body temperature was actually getting better. So you can put that as another one up here is the body temperature. And I used to be super cold, but I'm noticing that my body temperature is equalizing and I'm feeling less cold. So signs of possible iron deficiency include anemia, brittle nails, fatigue, irritability, confusion, dizziness, frail bones, and I felt that. There was a point when my bones just hurt and ached every time I woke up. Anorexia, constipation, and I would add, again, the body temperature turning mostly to cold, shallow breathing, and sensitivity to food or the food metabolism, the inability to metabolize food. All right, tell me how each of you are doing in these areas. Do you feel like you have some of these symptoms?
I definitely have anemia. I've been diagnosed with it for my whole life. And I most recently went and had an iron infusion. But like you, I looked at what it was and I wasn't excited about taking it. I think it helped me feel better because I noticed if I have really low iron, my anxiety gets worse. Mm-hmm. So I'm on just a whole food supplement iron right now. I'm supposed to go back to my hematologist, but I was waiting for the year to turn over so I didn't have to use my deductible.
Yeah.
So but I've been dealing with that for years. So
Yeah, me too. So are you feeling more energy when you're taking that?
yeah, I do. I just, I just wasn't like, I didn't like the hematologist had me do an iron infusion. I actually had to have a blood transfusion about 2 years ago because my iron was so bad and I was in the emergency room. So, and it's part of my endometriosis and my heavy cycle and all that junk. So I think, but I've had it my whole life. So anyway.
Okay, so something that just came into my mind for you was wheatgrass juice.
Okay.
Have you ever done that?
I know, I have not.
You can go over to Good Earth and get like a big flat of wheatgrass that's in the refrigerated area. And then you can also get on Amazon just for I think $50 or $60. It's this hand crank plastic machine, but you can put the wheatgrass in there and it will juice it for you. If you do have a juicer, you might have a juicer like a Green Star will do it as well. It'll masticate that into a juice. The wheatgrass is one molecule off from our blood.
Okay.
So people can use it similar to a blood transfusion. It will help to increase your blood supply and to get those red blood cells back in production and things like that. So the wheatgrass juice would be fabulous, and it would also, I think, help with the endometriosis. So let's just really flood the body with a lot of nutrients so the body knows how to heal itself, okay? It'll take those nutrients and start healing all those areas. And it'll take some time, be patient and just be consistent with using these things. But I think you're going to start noticing some difference.
Okay.
Any other comments on the iron or anemia? Okay. Okay, the next line is magnesium. Most people think that calcium deficiency is what causes osteoporosis. Sandra, this is for you.
Good.
But it's actually magnesium that's linked to this condition. Okay? So we're always taught that it's calcium, but you can't uptake the calcium without magnesium.
Right.
It affects all the bones and mineral metabolism and the parathyroid hormone. Magnesium is needed to help absorption, utilization, and excretion of calcium. Organic magnesium, that's the next line, will most often stop the formation of any new kidney stones. Jessica, this is for your husband.
Yeah.
Increasing magnesium is absolutely necessary, that goes in the next line, to stop osteoporosis. So, let's keep looking because it's going to talk about calcium here. Diuretics are not the answer. That includes caffeine. In fact, they cause the elimination of magnesium. The loss of magnesium is directly linked to rising blood pressure, often a consequence of a drug prescription.
I have problems with high blood pressure.
Okay. Magnesium controls potassium levels, and when the magnesium levels are low, so next line, the heart is affected because it is needed to conduct electricity for the heartbeat. All of the electrical functions of the heart run on magnesium. Magnesium is the cell, is the next line. And once it shows up in the blood via the blood test, the reserve is almost completely gone. So magnesium is located inside the cell. It's not in the bloodstream. But when it starts to get leached out and goes into the bloodstream, that's when you know that the reserve of magnesium is just about depleted. Okay, so oftentimes it won't show up in a blood test because it's not supposed to be in the bloodstream. The fastest way to deplete magnesium is to drink soft drinks, which are rich in phosphoric acid, PHORIC acid. A slower way is to take calcium supplementation that's made from chalk or calcium citrate, or not drink enough water. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. So what does it say about calcium?
It depletes our magnesium.
Calcium is needed to be able to go in, or actually magnesium actually goes in with the calcium, kind of clings to it and helps it get absorbed into the body. And the calcium supplementation that's usually made from chalk, which is calcium citrate, is what causes problems, okay? So if you're getting calcium from an herbal source or plant-based source, then that's much better, and it usually will have the magnesium in with it because nature makes it that way. Getting some audio stuff here. Okay, so the next one then is calcium, goes on the next line. So let's talk about this. This mineral works together with magnesium. If the ratio is off, people often wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning out of a sound sleep. Has anybody done that before?
Every night.
Every night.
Single night. Every night.
Wow. Well, there's the answer.
I thought it was part of like too much cortisol or some other problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Calcium is one of the minerals that's most used for advertising products like milk, Tums, and even orange juice. We aren't told that other minerals are needed to help calcium get into the body and into the bone structure, or how to get calcium out of the kidneys when we're done using it. When we take in, the next line is 1,200, which is 1,200 milligrams of calcium without other companion minerals, we get quite sick. So this 1,200 milligrams is what is recommended by doctors to take. But this is usually from supplementation that's made from chalk or calcium citrate. So we can't absorb that. And that's going into the kidneys, and it's causing stones and calcification of your arteries and things like that because it has no other place to go. So constipation is the next line, follows, and then creates more bacteria, fungi, and aberrations growing in the intestinal tract from backup toxins, which causes even more problems. This is why a lot of people have gut health issues. The result is an acute magnesium, is the next line, crisis, along with the following symptoms: faulty periods, feet cramps, leg cramps, headaches, eyelid twitching, heart palpitations, loss of sleep, and back spasms. In the genetic sequences, calcium always shows up at the bottom, is the next line, of the utilization chart. The key is magnesium. It always mobilizes calcium, moves it around, moves it out, and drags it in. A kidney stone, is the next line, is developed much like making rock candy and can form by using a high calcium supplement without enough magnesium to keep it in a solution. The kidney forms crystals due to the supersaturation of calcium without the proper balance of magnesium. The two work together. Calcification is the next line of the arteries, or arteriosclerosis, is also a long-term effect of too much calcium and not enough magnesium. Calcium is important in the formation of bones and maintenance of teeth. It is also important in nerve impulse transmission, blood coagulation, and muscle contraction. Other important uses of calcium in the body are keeping the body solid, fetal growth during pregnancy, a component of cartilage, body fluids, tissue, and alkalinity. So some of the possible deficiencies are weakness, fatigue, hemorrhaging, rickets, catarrh, which is like mucus in the body, bone softening, cramps, digestive disorders, abscesses, extensive sweating, poor circulation in the legs, swollen ankles, weak ankles and arches, cold feet, weakness in legs, and leg cramps. Okay, how do you feel about calcium now?
So aside from like reading a list like this, how do we know if we're deficient in, like when we did the anemia one or whatever, the iron one, I talked to you about this before, but I was like, yeah, that's definitely me. I'm definitely deficient in iron. With like the calcium, I'm like, oh, I think I could be, you know, like there's some of these that ring true, but not all of them. Is there a way to test or know if we are?
Well, if you can take a look back at the magnesium and see what it's doing. Oftentimes, if you're deficient in the calcium, it's probably also the magnesium as well. Calcium is one of those things that we're told that we need to take a look at. It's usually the calcium in protein, right? So the problem is they're wanting us to get calcium from milk, which also causes a lot of problems because we can't digest that very well. I have another book called Don't Drink Your Milk. This is on the book list too, but milk is actually made for a 200-pound calf, and it grows very fast, but we are not designed for that. We're the only mammal that goes back to another mammal's milk after we are weaned. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So milk is linked to leukemia, to multiple sclerosis, to food allergies, earaches and infections, and a lot of other issues. So this is a really good book to read as well, and some scientific evidence for you to not drink your milk. Okay. Jessica, I think this is one of those areas where you can go and get yourself checked to see if you've got levels of insufficient calcium or if there's magnesium in the blood. Or if you want to, you can do it energetically and ask your body, you know, go through some of those energy things that we talked about before.
Yeah.
You can do your muscle testing and see if, and just ask your body. And, you know, what I like to do is just tap on the temples for a minute just to make sure there's no interference as far as your opinion one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then test real quick and just say, my name is Jessica, and mine's not, so it goes through. My name is Wendy, it'll stay the same. So, and then I'll say a yes and no, and it goes through. Then I can say, is my body deficient in calcium? For me, it's a no. Do I need more magnesium? For me, it's a no. So you can ask specific questions like that if you want to, okay? Any other questions? You can go through all of the different elements too and muscle test that way.
So if you get a yes for those, then where do you go? Like, how much do I need? Or, you know, like, where do you go with that? You start asking the body.
Okay. So what I didn't have time to do is go through all of the different foods that are rich in these, but in the back of this book, it actually tells you, like on here, it has potassium and it has all the different foods and herbs that are great for that.
Okay.
The same with every one of these.
Get it from foods than to get it from a supplement?
Yeah, I would do a plant-based source as much as possible. Dr. Christopher has a calcium formula that I use. It's all herbs. And when you have a calcium supplement that's like that, like I said, with plants, it has hundreds of constituents, so your body can take that and use it the way it needs to. He also puts in other herbs to balance out the magnesium and other minerals that you need to be able to uptake the calcium. So your body, with an organic calcium that way, it will go in and do what it needs to, and then it will flush out the rest of it. The problem with the calcium citrate or anything made from chalk, which is a rock, is that your body doesn't know how to, it can't absorb it. So it goes into the kidneys and makes kidney stones and calcifies after a while, and it also will cause problems in other areas. You can get stones in your gallbladder or liver as well. To get rid of that, you can do the apple cider vinegar. That will help with dissolving the calcium in the arteries as well as any of the organs. So you'll want to do that. And then you can also get distilled water and drink that. That goes in and removes all the inorganic minerals, and then it will keep the organic minerals. I don't know how it knows, but these different things have their own intelligence. Everything is energy, and so it knows what to do in the body, which is really cool.
Cool.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as magnesium, is there a plant-based supplement that you suggest, or does that go with the calcium?
So I made a list of magnesium. I've got a lot to send you guys. But I will put that up on the website by next week. But that is a whole list. On the front is herbs that contain magnesium, and on the back are the foods that contain magnesium. My desire is to go through each of these and to create articles to help you understand what they are and all of that, but it takes a lot of time in addition to creating all of the other material that I'm doing. So I'll try and get those up periodically so you can watch for those. But I do have one on magnesium, plus I've got an article that I wrote about it. So I'll get those up on the site. But chocolate has magnesium in it. But Julia, with your endometriosis, are you noticing some symptoms happening after you have chocolate?
Yeah, like I just try to stay away from it. I do probably have a little bit now and then, but because my symptoms are so bad, I literally almost fast on those bad days because I don't know what else to do. And when I do eat, you know, more recently I've stuck to like fruits and lots of water, and I still had my body just is not happy, but I definitely have to stay away from anything else. So
okay, so are the symptoms increasing or decreasing in pain or any other symptoms that you're dealing with?
It's hard to say. I'd say the pain is getting better, but I think I mentioned last week, too much information, but I'm dealing with a lot of constipation, and it's only when my endometriosis is flaring. So the way my cycle goes is like it's a couple weeks of every month, and then it kind of calms down, and then it starts. It's a cycle. But I feel like overall it's probably getting a little better. It just depends on.
Okay, so Jessica, you were asking about how to read your body. This is one of the reasons why I ask what's going on. So in this case, it looks like, and I'm not diagnosing or anything because I'm not a doctor, but what I would think is happening, Julia, is that your body is wanting to fast during those times, which is why you're prone to going toward that, because it's probably trying to clean itself out.
Yeah.
And so adding more to that is causing more pain.
Yeah.
So your body's giving you those signals saying, don't feed me right now. I need to do my job and clean and repair.
Yeah.
So yeah, fasting is a perfect way of doing things and keeping things calm. You can do your teas and your apple juice or whatever you feel good about doing. And then talk yourself through it. This is where a lot of the energy from the words and your intention toward it will really help. Where you can talk through it and say, my body is healing from this endometriosis. All the nutrients that I'm giving my body are repairing and healing this problem, and it is no longer an issue for me. And as you say these things in the present as if it is already happening, it's going to shift that energy around the disease or the illness or whatever it is, and your body will start to respond to that. It's pretty incredible what we can do with our words and with our intention. We can shift the energy around pretty much anything. And so I want you to start doing that. Start saying some statements. Let's see, I've got this here. In this energy healing course that I just took, we're going to do, I don't know, I'm going to create my own energy healing course because it's pretty awesome, the things I'm learning. But okay, so what did we say endometriosis was about emotionally? Do you remember?
No. I know I've looked at it. Probably just something stuck or guilt or something. I don't know.
Okay, so it says insecurity, disappointment, and frustration, replacing self-love with sugar. Interesting.
Oh,
And then blaming. So the new thought
Okay.
pattern or the statement that you can say to yourself is, I am both powerful and desirable. It's wonderful to be a woman. I love myself and I am fulfilled. Okay? So I want you to take this recording and write all that down and say it to yourself. Some other things that you could say. I am worthy and deserving of Christ's atonement to work for me. I free myself from the past and move into the present with joy. I go inside myself and connect with all the parts of me that know how to heal. I release all physical, mental, and emotional trauma right now. I give myself permission to leave the past in the past and move into the present. I send love to my child self and give him or her permission to heal. I set healthy boundaries for myself and others. I forgive myself for the mistakes and not letting go. I forgive everyone who had or will have a part in holding me back from my potential. I let go of the past and trust that God will take care of all the details. Isn't that beautiful? That comes from Jennifer Daly. I've got to give her credit. She has, it's called The Healing Place, and it's the School of Energy. So these are some of the things that you can say to yourself. There's a lot of different ones, but my body is in complete submission to my spirit. I love and enjoy healthy food and activities. I listen to and take care of my body because I am worth it. These you can use also when you're struggling with your temptations. I am motivated by my failures, setbacks, and successes. That's a good one. All my thoughts are of abundant health and well-being. It is safe for me to allow myself to be in good health at all times. I am healthy, whole, and complete. All the workings of my body are strong and in harmony. All my cells replenish, repair, and return to their original blueprint. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I claim, one more, I claim the health and well-being that is mine. Okay, tell me what?
I was just going to ask again, which is the author that you're getting these from? Or
this is from the energy healing course that I took from Jennifer Daly. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things Dr. Christopher taught us is that our body does have a blueprint, and that is the DNA. The scientists are finding out that the DNA is the blueprint of the body. So what Dr. Christopher said is that even when we have, this is really interesting, when we have something that's taken out of us, like a gallbladder or other organs, or if a finger gets cut off, this is why you have phantom pain, because the energy of that area is still intact as part of the blueprint, okay? Our bodies know how to regenerate themselves. So I believe that my thyroid that I got taken out 7.5 years, no, it was longer than that. I think it was 1989, no, 1998, when I got this taken out. I believe that it has completely grown back, and I would like to go and get it examined, do an ultrasound to see if that's correct. But when I went to the doctor recently and got my blood test for my thyroid, he said that they were normal and functioning very well. And I'm not on any medication, and I use the Dr. Christopher thyroid maintenance for that.
Wow.
So using the herbs and using the raw food, this has helped the body to take those elements from the earth and recreate different areas, repairing and healing those places for us. It goes back to that natural blueprint. So I agree completely with this. All my cells replenish, repair, and return to their original blueprint. And your female organs can do the same, Pretty
that
powerful.
gives me hope.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Now we're going to talk about colors and nutrients, and this comes from another book of mine that I absolutely love, and it's called, here it is, it's The Color Code. This is such a great book. I love it. It's called A Revolutionary Eating Plan for Optimum Health. This book supports the idea that if we eat all of the colors of the next one is rainbow. We missed a couple up here, so hold on a minute. Okay, so let's go back up a little bit. Potassium literally washes your organs. Do you know what page we're on?
No.
So this is page 46 if you numbered your pages. It's after the list of restless, low energy, all of those. That says potassium literally washes your organs and muscles in a process called saponification, which is the conversion of fat into soap. You wash the build up workout acids out of your muscles, giving you better muscular gains and less time for athletes. So Jessica, on one of our private conversations, we talked about this. Do you remember that?
We did, and I've been doing it. I've been eating a ton of bananas in the mornings after my workout, and yeah, it's good.
Good. How's your recovery time? Has it improved?
Well, it's a little hard to say since I've been up and down with going to the gym lately. But yeah, I mean, I feel good doing it, so.
Good. You have more energy afterward, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
Definitely. I used to eat eggs after I worked out, and that definitely did not give me energy. So
yeah.
The bananas is a big improvement from that.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. All right, there are men. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, can we turn back a page? Because I don't know if I filled out the first part of the potassium section.
Oh, sorry. I guess we haven't done potassium yet. Okay, so this mineral, potassium is the next one, is critical for the proper functioning of the heart. If a person wakes up at 2 a.m. often, this may indicate a potassium imbalance. Potassium is known as the great alkalizer, Alkalizer, and is a primary electrolyte. It is important in pH balance and water balance. This element plays a vital role in nerve function and cellular integrity by regulating the transfer of nutrients into the cell. Potassium attracts oxygen to tissues, is the next line. Lack of it reduces tissue oxygenation. So that's pretty powerful. Potassium attracts oxygen to the tissues, and when you don't have enough potassium, it reduces the oxygenation of the tissue. Potassium functions in body include supports muscular system, increases tissue and blood alkalinity, acts as a nerve tonic, reduces acidity, promotes good health and vigor, helps eliminate toxins and supplies healthy nerves. It's like healthy was misspelled, sorry. Sign of possible deficiency: overacidity, reduced oxygenation, aches and pains, mental illness, restlessness, low energy levels, skin disorders, elevated cholesterol and triglycerides, nervousness, anxiety, and hypo or hypertension. Okay, so we talked about potassium literally washes your organs and muscles in a process called saponification, which is the conversion of fat into soap. There are many other vital minerals and vitamins that we need to remain healthy. Many of these come in the fresh fruits, vegetables, dark leafy greens, sprouted nuts and seeds we eat from raw foods. This is why this lifestyle is so sustainable over time and energy is felt for long periods of time. When these elements are in balance, is the next line, we enjoy amazing health. So the books, the Minerals for the Genetic Code and How to Build Muscle on a Raw Food Diet, are excellent references to learn more. All right, let's talk about color nutrients then, and that's the book, The Color Code, I was telling you about. This book supports the idea that if we eat all of the colors of the rainbow, it's the next line, in fruits and vegetables each day, we will receive a wide variety of nutrients, including vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, fiber, carotenoids, etc. I highly recommend getting this book to read all of the details, but here are a few highlights. Number 1 in the line phytochemicals, and it's PHYTO chemicals, are plant nutrients. The Greek word for plant is phyton. That are known, okay, so the plant nutrients are known as proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals, and often refers to other substances that make up the rest of what is in the plant. So those are phytochemicals. Plants manufacture, number 2, compounds to protect themselves against a variety of dangers, including, so these are the next 3 lines. Solar radiation is 1. Insects that want to eat them is number 2. And number 3 is microbes that cause disease. So solar radiation, insects that want to eat them, and microbes that cause disease. Number 3, the compounds found in plants that help protect them also protect the animals and humans that eat them. For example, A, certain phytochemicals activate genes that help the body fight cancer. B, blueberries. The next line on B is blueberries contain more than a dozen vitamins and minerals in small amounts. They pack fiber and contain nearly 100 phytochemicals, is the next line, 100, including dyes that stain your mouth. Just one of the phytochemicals fall into the protective categories, according to a USDA database: analgesic, antibacterial, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antiseptic, anti-sunburn, anti-ulcer, and immunostimulant. So that's just one of the phytochemicals found in blueberries. Eating a wide variety of nutrients is practicing defensive eating, is C, or preventative medicine is the next line. So defensive eating is that first line. Huh?
Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Wendy.
We're losing ya.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Wendy.
We're losing you.
Hold
Wendy. Wendy. Can you guys hear me fine?
I can hear you,
Can you hear me
Jessica.
now?
Wendy, there you are. We all lost you for a minute there.
I wonder if somebody got onto a game or something. I have my family on my Wi-Fi, so I just plugged into the Ethernet here. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so where did we go to? Did you get C, defensive eating and preventative medicine? Okay, D on that first line is carotenoids, C-A-R-O-T-E-N-O-I-D-S. Carotenoids cluster at the, and there are 3 different words here, yellow dash orange dash red. So carotenoids cluster at the yellow, orange, red end of the color spectrum. They're also packed in leafy greens, but you cannot see them because they're hidden by the chlorophyll. You know they're there when you can see the chlorophyll shed in the fall and expose these various colors in the leaves. Carotenoids are the sunscreen for the plant, and they act as a sunscreen for humans too, from the inside out. So I think we talked about this a little bit with carotenoids. Those are the yellow, orange, and red spectrum, and you can also find them in the leafy greens, but they're your sunscreen. And do you remember I told you that I was stark white, and then I ate a whole bunch of carotenoids, and my skin has turned this color, and it stays like this all year round now. And I actually get quite tan. I never used to get tan until I started eating this. Isn't that cool?
Super.
But I don't put any kind of sunscreen on because those carotenoids protect me from the inside out. I don't go out long enough to get burned, but I don't put anything else on. Okay? Yeah. And it takes a little time to get up to that point. When you start eating a lot more carrots and the carotenoid plants, you'll notice that you may turn orange. And that's where the bilirubin from the liver is going through and cleaning things out. And it might take a few weeks to get that completely out, but it's really great because you're cleaning your liver while you're also...
That's something that you recommend, like just going on a carrot binge for a couple of weeks?
Absolutely. I did it for about a year.
Really? So like how many carrots, like how much would you eat a day?
So I'd have like a full carrot. You can get those 10-pound bags over at Costco that are organic. And there's a huge difference between the taste of an organic and a regular carrot. But I would cut the ends off and not peel it because the peeling has a lot of great nutrients in there too. And I would just sit and eat 8 to 10 of those a day.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow.
I worked up to it, but you can also juice them and then eat the pulp or fiber afterward too.
Huh. All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, and this is another tip for people who have cancer. There's another book called Healing the Gerson Way, and this will be on your book list as well. But this goes through and talks about the importance of carrots, and they use carrot and celery juice as part of their protocol to help people with cancer.
I've heard of that book.
Yeah. There's actually a documentary on this as well.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we've got a lot to go through in a half hour. Oh my goodness. Okay. These are like power packed, aren't they?
Oh, this is great. We're getting lots out of it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So many of these compounds found in plants provide scents and flavors which are essential in helping attract pollinating bees, but repel other gnawing insects. Other phytochemicals provide the plants with the equivalent of an immune system, is the next line, to help fight off bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Resveratrol, Resveratrol, resveratrol found in grapes, fight off bacterial and fungal infections. Most of the resveratrol is found in the skin of the grape because they attack from the outside in. They're attacking the bacteria, fungi, and viruses from the outside of the skin in. Onions and garlic contain organosulfur, so it's ORGANO-sulfur compounds that act as insect repellents to help the plant avoid getting eaten before it can spread its seed. So a great garden tip, this is an organic garden tip, is to create a liquid garlic spray out of garlic and water, blended smooth, and spray on your plants to keep the bugs away.
Oh, cool.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are some more colors and their meanings. Red is a color that's most dominant attention getter. It means excitement and has visual appeal. Meals seem more dramatic and even more romantic when red is added. Red pigment contains disease-fighting properties. Cherry red has anthocyanins. Beet red contains beta-cyanins, and potato red contains lycopene. Of the top 20 antioxidant fruits and vegetables, 7 of them are red. So these are the next 7 lines. Strawberries, cranberries, raspberries, cherries, red grapes, beets, and red peppers. So strawberries, cranberries, raspberries, cherries, red grapes, beets, and red peppers. Many of these foods have the color and shape of a heart. So have you ever heard of the doctrine of signatures? That's the next line.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where the fruit or vegetable, when you cut it or look at it, it looks just like the organ that it helps, or the part of the body that it helps. So a carrot, if you cut into it, it looks like an eye, and it's really good for eyes. A walnut looks like a brain. It's very good for the brain. So the doctrine of signature tells us that these foods are good for the heart. Medieval symbolism says that the heart represents perfection and righteousness. Strawberries, for example, were served at important occasions to promote peace and prosperity. In France, they are regarded as an aphrodisiac. So ORAC, O-R-A-C, means oxygen radical absorbency capacity, and is a way to measure the antioxidant properties of a food or supplement. Dried prunes, for example, are very high in the ORAC scale at 5,700, which is measured in ORAC units per 100 grams, which is about 3.5 ounces. Blueberries are 2,400 and cherries are 670. As we age, we become more sensitive to the damaging effects of free radicals, oxygen molecules that are unstable because they have an unbalanced number of electrons, is the next line. And then antioxidants help reduce the oxidative stress that free radicals cause if we eat enough of them. So these antioxidants are really important, and we get them from our fresh fruits and vegetables and sprouted nuts and seeds. And they help reduce the oxidative stress, which is like when you have an apple and you put it out in the air, the oxygen comes and makes it brown, right? That's called oxidative stress. So that can happen inside of our body if we don't have enough antioxidants, especially from eating a lot of the processed and cooked foods. Remember, we talked about the cooked foods in the first one, where we get these cancer-causing agents, which are chemicals that are called acrylamide, and it happens when you brown your food. Okay, so that's oxidative stress that's happening, and these free radicals are going in and damaging the cells and causing cancer and other diseases over time. So antioxidants help to protect us against that. Okay, the next line is cancer can result from the attacks of free radicals on the DNA. Cancer cannot live in the presence of oxygen. And Dr. Otto Warburg, I believe his name was, in the 1930s, he found out that was true. And it's a whole big crazy conspiracy, but a lot of the people who are trying to fight cancer and find a cure, there's already been a cure. We have many cures for cancer, but they're never going to find it because they make too much money trying to find it.
Yep.
So, but he found out many years ago that if you take and put cancer cells in an oxygenated environment, they'll die. So when we eat plenty of antioxidant-rich foods, this helps us in our prevention of this and other diseases because they give more oxygen to the body. Okay? We talked about that with the iron. The iron helps to transfer oxygen through the bloodstream. And when I wasn't getting enough iron, I could feel that oxygen wasn't getting to different parts, and I was really having a hard time breathing. So it's very important for that. Any comments or questions so far?
Nope.
Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the chakras, and I'm going to do the first one, but I'm not going to go through all of this because we have more to go over. The following information has been summarized from the book, The Boo, Natural Healing, Wisdom, and Know-How by Amy Rost on chapter 6. So that's a really big book. I actually bought this over at Costco. I don't know if they still have it, but look how thick this thing is.
Oh, wow.
And it's excellent. It has all sorts of information for herbs and even energy healing and everything. And it was only about $12 or so. It wasn't very much at all. So the red chakra is the base chakra, or its survival area. This chakra is located at the tailbone, and the area of the face is the chin, jaw, and lips. And isn't that interesting that our lips are red? The sense of touch is similar to the sensitivity of the lips, with many nerve endings there. The antidote to this red chakra is blue. So if you need to kind of tone down the red, if you're feeling like the chakra is overactive, then you can use blue to help tone that down. The tone is E, and as in red. So when you say eh, so eh, if you can say eh, that helps to activate that area. Isn't that interesting? And then the note is a C on the piano, like a middle C. The element is earth. Stones are red, brown, and black for this area. Red stones are used for energy and blood circulation. Brown and black are for grounding and connecting with the earth. Your body and with its physical reality. You can place the stones in the hip pockets or at the groin points. Aromas with aphrodisiac properties are associated with the first and second chakras. Patchouli and rose geranium can be used as perfume or herbs or essential oils which help as antidepressants, helps with cracked skin and athlete's foot for patchouli, in stimulating the adrenals, balancing the hormones and male and female sex hormones, premenstrual tension and menopause, and fluid retention is the rose geranium. Forgot to add that at the end. Okay. The statement that you want to say is, I want stuff. Isn't that interesting? So the red chakra is for the survival area. So if you're at that area in your life where you're just surviving, you're in that base chakra. And a lot of times, like you can take, let's go over, I'm going to let you guys read through all of these because they're really interesting. But for lack of time, we're not going to do all of that. You can eat, this is on page 50, you can eat for the chakras if you feel the need to help strengthen one or more of these areas by eating foods of that color and having the intention to strengthen those areas. So if you're having a hard time, like in the orange area, the orange is the sexual organs. If you're having issues with intimacy or having problems with the sexual desires and things like that, then you can use some of these tools, the stones that are suggested here. For orange, it is, the statement is, I desire, and it relates to money, sex, and God. Sandalwood is a powerful urinary antiseptic, so that's the urinary tract area as well. Helps treat infections of the urinary tract and was used for gonorrhea. So anyway, and you can eat orange fruits and vegetables as well as wear orange clothing. So any kind of thing like that. I know there's a chart out there somewhere, I need to find it, but there's actually a different color for every day of the week. And then that corresponds with different parts of the body. So the throat chakra, which is where I was having problems, that relates a lot to the emotions of I'm not being heard or I can't express myself. It has to do with, you know, speaking and the throat and all of that. And that's a blue. So when I feel like I need some support, I wear blue in that area, okay?
So this is all kind of overwhelming to me because I just barely heard about chakras like a month ago. So I just guess I need a lot more. I'll have to read more about it.
Okay. Chakras are basically the energy systems that spin around in different areas. So if you were to look at a person, can you all see me standing up here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll kind of, there we go. So this area here is the red chakra, and the spinning wheel is about in this area, and it goes up through the different parts, including, like this is the throat, and then your third eye is right here, and then you have your crown chakra. The chakras also correspond with your aura. Some people can actually see colors and things around the person's body. So our aura has energy around our body. It's kind of like our personal bubble. You've heard people say that.
Yeah.
You can actually feel, have you ever been up to a person and you feel like they're in your personal space? It's like they're getting into your aura or your personal space and it's really uncomfortable. So you move back so that you can create that personal space, right? So it's kind of like their bubble is bumping into your bubble and you're not liking that too much. But that's our aura, okay? So the chakras are actually talked about in the Bible. And I was going to see if I could find the information on this so I could tell you about it tonight, but I'll probably have to get back to you on that. But there are Bible scriptures that talk about the spinning wheels, and that's what they are, is the chakras. And people could see them. There's still a lot of people who can see chakras. But you kind of think of them as these spinning energy wheels that are going all up around the body. Okay, and they align throughout the center of the body. And when one of them is off or spinning a different way, then you can feel it, you know. So there are people who actually do chakra cleanings and different things like that, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, it's all part of our energy system. Okay.
Cool.
Any other questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, so your assignment for this week is to go over your cell well-being report again and see if there's anything else that you need to work on. And then do your own research on the chakras, the colors, vitamins, and minerals to fully understand them and how to apply them for you specifically. Now be careful when you're doing your research. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there. I stay away from a lot of the energy healing that has anything to do with witchcraft or sorcery, with tarot cards. There's a lot of things that I don't like. Reiki, that's one of those that I don't feel a pull toward. And the reason is I know there's only a few people that I know that know how to do Reiki in a really Christ-centered, great way. But there are others that I've been around that have a very big ego when they're doing it, and that's what I don't like. If they can keep the ego out of it and not do it for selfish purposes, but they have a very Christ-centered way of energy healing, then I correspond to that. But really listen to your instincts with that, and if something doesn't feel right or if it doesn't feel comfortable to you, then don't do it. Okay? Okay. Now on page 51, we have week 8, which is the reasonably raw, and this one is shorter. So we've discussed a wide variety of nutrients that we need to have for optimum health, and that most of this can and should come from our food. Here's what you need to know to get started eating healthier. So in my experience, I found that going from the standard American diet, which is SAD, to a raw food diet is a very drastic change. Have you noticed that? Yeah. My body responded quickly to the large number of nutrients I was feeding it by giving me more energy, which helped me not to have to sleep so much. I also benefited by a decline in symptoms that eventually went completely away and stayed away as long as I ate these healthy, uncooked, and unprocessed plant-based foods. When I decided to cheat, however, my body let me know it, and it was not pleased with my decision within a few minutes. The pain and inflammation returned, and I felt the symptoms come back. The good news, however, was that my body was cleaning out, and it was as if I had turned the mechanism on for automatic cleansing when I began my raw food journey, so that my body knew what to do immediately when I allowed these foreign substances into my body. It tried everything it could to clean and push the toxins out, and like we talked about, the diarrhea was one of the results I experienced, and emotions also surfaced. When we choose to eat instead of feel our emotions, we shove these feelings down deep inside, and they begin to come up as we clean our bodies out. This is natural, so if you happen to feel more emotional than normal, crying for no reason, or remembering things that you haven't thought of for years, this is probably why. Have any of you started feeling a little of that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so good. You're normal. Woohoo! So I wrote the recipe book, The Reasonably Raw, for my clients who were saying that they wanted to eat healthier, but they weren't ready to go all raw. It's a bridge between these two extreme ways of eating, and it helps to transition into eating more raw food and slowly reducing the amount of animal products consumed. The reason we want to eat little to no animal products over time is because they are, one, inflammatory, and the second line is mucus-producing foods to the human body. Remember when we discussed the chart with the different types of mammals? The carnivores are meat eaters that are designed biologically just to eat meat. The omnivores are designed to eat meat and vegetables and some fruit. The herbivores are designed to eat grasses, and they can digest them like no other mammal can. And the chimpanzees and humans share 99.4% of their DNA, and they are very closely designed to eat a high amount of fruit. This is where the 80-10-10 diet by Dr. Douglas N. Graham comes in. It's the optimum way of eating for us, and we get to determine how closely we want to adhere to this way of eating. So that's kind of like the goal that we're trying to reach, but it may take us years. It took me about 6 years into my journey to have a desire to start going into that way of eating. So if you don't feel it right now, like this is too hard for me, then don't do it. It's okay. My desire in this program is to teach you everything I can about real nutrition that is based on scientific fact and supported by thousands of years of sustainability. The fad diets come and go, but they prove not to be sustainable over time. So let's look at a few that are popular right now. So I'm going to read the description and tell me what diet we're talking about. Number 1, this diet was designed around the Paleolithic era between 2.5 million and 10,000 years ago, when people were hunter-gatherers. They claim that eating lots of grass-fed meat, animal fat, vegetables, nuts, some fruit and honey, but no dairy, grains, or sugar is the best. This diet goes hand in hand with the CrossFit craze, which is also controversial with a high risk of injury. So what is that one?
Paleo.
Yep, paleo diet. Number 2, low carbohydrates, no calorie restrictions, eating as much protein as you want to help you feel full faster. Vegetables are fine as well. There are 4 different phases. Phase 1, you can eat 20 grams of carbs per day for 2 solid weeks. High fat, protein, and vegetables are encouraged at this phase. Phase 2 is where you can add more nuts, fruits, and low-carb vegetables back into your diet and continue eating as much dense protein as you can. Phase 3 is focusing on eating more protein than carbs, and Phase 4 is the maintenance phase, allowing you to eat more carbs as long as the weight doesn't come back on. Which one is that one?
I don't know.
It's the Atkins diet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that still around?
Yeah, I got online and saw it. They've got all sorts of products and stuff. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine trying to figure out all that stuff?
That would be confusing.
Yeah. And then as long as the weight doesn't come back on, what does that tell you? Is that sustainable?
No.
Not at all. Okay, the third one. This diet is very low carbohydrate, designed to force your body to burn fat instead of glucose for energy. This process produces ketones. Ketosis is a state where your body doesn't have enough glucose available to use as energy. So it switches to a state where molecules called ketones are generated during fat metabolism. This diet is built around fat sources such as fatty fish, meat, nuts, cheese, and oils. You know what that is? Yeah, ketogenic diet, and that's really popular right now too. Do you think that would be very sustainable over time?
Probably not.
No. So from what you've learned from the raw food diet and then these types of diets, what is your feeling about this?
Well, I feel like all of these are similar to the diet that I was doing 3 years ago when we had hired someone to help us with, losing weight and getting super strong. And so like the high amounts of protein and fat. And it's funny, I did that and I lost weight. And so you're telling yourself like, oh, I feel great. But I actually remember being like, why am I so tired all the time? Why do I not feel great? Even though I'm eating so healthy, I was being really strict with that. But I do remember thinking like, having that feeling in the back of my mind, like, well, I'm eating healthy supposedly, but it just didn't feel right. It didn't sit right with like my spirit as like a healthy way of eating, even though that's kind of what I was being taught. But I feel like with the raw foods, it totally makes sense that it goes back to like how we were built to eat. And I love how you always refer to like, like Adam and Eve and how they ate in the Garden of Eden. And, like that makes sense to me that the foods were built for us to eat raw and the things that are coming from the ground. And anyway, so for me, I feel like the biggest, thing pushing me this way is just like my spirit feels like this is the right thing to do. Even if my body hasn't quite caught up to it yet, I feel inspired to go this route.
I love that. That's when you know it's right. Anyone else?
Well, I just feel like with the way we're learning to eat now, it just feels so refreshing. Feels
Good.
clean.
Yeah.
Especially the fruit. Oh my gosh, it feels pure.
Doesn't it feel like you're kind of home?
Yeah.
It's just like your body says, finally, you're feeding me what I really, really want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I'm glad that you can tell the difference. Okay, people lose weight in the short term on these diets, but they're difficult to sustain and they're not very environmentally friendly. Eating a lot of meat is the next line, forces the meat industry to produce more, which costs a lot to maintain the farms, and the animals are often not treated well. In conventional farming, these animals are injected with hormones to help them produce more milk during the off cycles, which disrupts nature's rhythms, is the third line. The animals are under high stress to perform under less than ideal conditions, and the result is extra stress hormones from them and from what they are being injected with in our food. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. The hormones they are injected with are also to help them grow bigger in shorter amounts of time so that we have bigger portions of meat. This unnatural way of eating can be very detrimental over time. So you look at all these high animal product consumption diets, and they're really not sustainable for the environment over time, and they're not sustainable for our health. Some really good documentaries to watch are listed below. You've probably seen some of those. Many of these shows that eating a whole food plant-based diet is the best for optimum health. When you eat mostly raw foods and stop cooking the enzymes to death, you get even more benefit. The next line is the China study by T. Colin Campbell was the largest nutrition study ever done. They found that cancer cells could literally be turned on when animal product was eaten at higher than 5% of the daily value. That's not very much. Lower than 5% of animal protein is ideal, but America is consuming 20% or more. So those are 5%, 5%, and 20%. It was also found that an increase of plant-based protein had no effect on the cancer cells. In fact, the more plants consumed, the better for fighting off cancer and other diseases. Isn't that incredible? So eat your plants and don't cook them. The diets will come and go, but the best results are found eating the plants in high quantities for disease prevention. Okay, so beginning your reasonably raw lifestyle. I understand that you may not want to give up meat, dairy, cheese, or eggs right away. It takes time to get your taste buds used to something different. So the Reasonably Raw recipe book contains recipes for you that are comfortable foods that are healthified. I've taken my family's favorites like tacos, burgers, soups, hearty breakfasts, etc., and increased the vegetables and decreased the animal products without giving them up completely. So these are the keys to this type of cooking. Are you ready? Number 1, cook the meat first at medium-high heat. Number 2, turn the heat to low or off and add the chopped vegetables and spices and mix in for a couple of minutes. 3, the bright colors and slight crunch. So those are bright colors on the first line and slight crunch of the vegetables mean they still have their live enzymes. Once the color fades and they get mushy, the enzymes are gone. Adding the spices at the end, number 4, preserves their medicinal properties, increasing the nutrition of the meal. 5, reducing the meat and cheese amounts and increasing the vegetable portions help you to get used to eating more plants and less animal products. 6, build your meal around the fruits and vegetables instead of having the meat as the main dish. And 7, reduce or eliminate the amount of bread that you're eating and use natural yeast or sprouted breads instead. So Sandra, that's good. You're doing the sprouted breads.
Okay, good.
Any questions on these? So this is one of those things that you could make another copy of this and cut it out and put it on your refrigerator. This is how I want you to start cooking for you and your family, okay? Because your meals will be more medicinal. They'll start to help repair and heal your body. Okay, you should start to notice the following after a while. Number 1, taste buds start to change where you start wanting more fruits and vegetables and less animal products. 2, as you also increase the consumption of fresh fruits, you should notice your cravings for sweets diminishing. 3, increased energy and stamina. And 4, less inflammation and mucus, which decreases symptoms. So inflammation, mucus, and symptoms on number 4. Remember, you may experience some detoxification or cleansing symptoms, which may consist of feeling tired, sluggish, or have cold or flu-like symptoms. This is normal. Tools to help you through this were discussed in week 5, so you can go back there and take a look at what we talked about. So your assignment for this is to do your own research on various diets that you may be curious about. See if you can determine why they may or may not be sustainable over time. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it's kind of an optional thing. Look through the Reasonably Raw recipe book and decide which recipes you would like to make this week for you and your family. And be sure to follow the guidelines above for best results. Okay? Okay, the last thing that I didn't put into your book, but you can go back through and take a look at. This is really interesting. Okay, frequencies.
I want you to break out in song for us, Wendy.
I should. One of these days. Okay, Bruce Tanino of Tanino Technology built the first frequency monitor in the world. He found that a healthy human body frequency is at 62 to 72 hertz. A hertz equals 1 cycle per second. A millihertz is 1 million cycles per second. The human body, the genius brain frequency is 80 to 82 megahertz. Isn't that interesting? Brain frequency is 72 to 90 megahertz, and the human body is 62 to 75 or 78. Thyroid and parathyroid glands operate at 62 to 68 megahertz. And then you can take a look all the way down. Thymus gland is 65 to 68, pancreas 60 to 80, heart 67 to 70. So it's kind of going down, isn't it? Lungs 58 to 60, and liver 55 to 60. Illnesses start with colds and flus at 57 to 60 megahertz. Disease begins at 58 megahertz, and candida overgrowth is at 55. So that's right around the liver function here, which is interesting. The receptivity to Epstein-Barr is at 52 megahertz, and you become receptive to cancer at 42 megahertz. Death begins at 25. For the food, the fresh plant foods and herbs is 20 to 27 hertz. Dried fruits and herbs are 15 to 20, and processed or canned fruits is 0. It has no frequency. Isn't that interesting?
Oh.
Okay, so this is a chart that tells us at the bottom is death. So dead flesh, this is all the animal products, isn't it? Then you've got animal discharge, which would be the eggs, cheese, milk. Isn't that interesting how they put that? Cream, whip, butter, lard, cake, cookies, scones, all that stuff are considered low karma, or it's all below 0 or at 0 megahertz. 5 megahertz and below these are the often cooked foods that lose their life force. So a lot of these are the root vegetables and things like that, anything that's cooked. But if you eat these where they still have the good color, the bright color, and then the crunch, then you should be okay. Then 15 megahertz are foods from the earth. So apples, blueberries, coconut, avocado, all those things. Oh wait, yeah. These are actually foods from the tree. So the foods from the earth are down here, but they're often cooked. And then you have the foods that contain high mineral and life force energy, which are the superfoods: raw chocolate, seaweed, almonds, raw cacao, spirulina, lemons, goji berries, mangosteens, and limes. Then you've got foods that are highest nutrition known to mankind. They're called chemical sunlight. So that's the wheatgrass, the phytoplankton, chlorophyll, and essential oils. Isn't that an interesting chart there?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important, you guys, what you're putting in your bodies. And if you can start to teach your families about these things, it's going to help the next generation be able to live longer than what they are predicted to live. This generation that we're raising right now is predicted not to live as long as us. because there's so much, so many chemicals in the environment and in our food, and so much processed food. They're not getting very many fruits and vegetables that are not cooked. Most people will get canned fruit or vegetables that have been steamed to death. And you can't survive on that. So we now have a lot of children, infants that are being born with cancer. This has never been seen before. A lot of disformities or malformities. And what Dr. Christopher said was that these are the sins of the parents on to the next generations, which is part of the scriptural prophecy.
So when you say that, do you mean because of foods that they've eaten?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it goes back for generations, you know.
Right.
Our parents ate poorly, their parents ate poorly. That was during the time my grandparents or our grandparents were during the time of the Depression, and when they went to war, and then all of this, the TV dinners started coming out and the canned goods, and that's when our nutrition really started to go downhill from there. So we need to get back to eating from the earth and doing it in a way where the earth gives us this food without us adding fire to it, or the chemicals and all that other stuff. And we are now at that point where we do need to be making our own food, growing our own food is really important too. And the prophets have told us that as well. We'll get to a point where people will be taking up their lawns and start doing their own food because the food supply will be so tainted. And that is also prophesied in the Word of Wisdom, where it says the conspiring men will turn against us, right?
Yeah.
So, any last comments or questions?
No.
No.
All great information.
Really good. Good information.
Good. Well, I want you guys to be able to go out there with this intact, because you will get people who ask you lots of questions. And if you have this foundation of education behind you, then you'll be able to answer those questions and be able to go and teach this. When you learn something, you need to go out and teach it and help other people as much as you can. That helps people like me who are trying to spread this message. You're like these clones going out and sharing more, and I would just greatly appreciate the help. So you are all wonderful. Thank you so much for spending these 2 hours with me. I have a question for you. I wanted to find out what you think of us moving forward. Do you like the way that we're doing this, where it's interactive with you, but we're spending 2 hours together? Or would you prefer that I pre-record the content, you watch it ahead of time, and then we discuss any issues and maybe do it within an hour? What are your thoughts on that?
I like how we do it. I think that I have questions come up for me as we're talking, and when other people bring up questions that ring something. Anyway, I like it. I think it's great. I feel like 2 hours it's always hard to find time, but I feel like what we're learning is so valuable that I love having the time with you and hearing other people's input. So I like the way we do it.
Okay, good. Thank you. How about you, Sandra or Julia? What do you think?
Well, I like the way you do it, but I also can see, for me, my brain processes slowly a little bit. And so I'm thinking, well, having pre-recorded and listening to it, then I can think of questions, and questions come to my mind, I can write them down. I think about it throughout, the week or a couple of days I have to think about it. I don't know. I like them. They both sound good to me.
Okay.
For different reasons.
Okay, thank you. And Julia, what do you think?
I can see both sides. I like the 2 hours, like Jessica said, where your questions come up and we can get an immediate answer. But I'm open to trying it the other way just to see if anyone wants to, because, that's probably not very helpful, but.
Well, let's take a vote then. Who wants to continue on the way we're doing it?
Well, I think for right now, I think we should continue on the way we're doing it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's do that, and then if there are any issues that come up, then let me know.
Okay.
All right. Well, good luck with everything this week. And if you have questions, then just give me a text or an email and let me know what's going on, and I'll help you out. But you're all doing fantastic.
Well, thank you, Wendy, and thanks for compiling all this information for us. This is a ton of work that you put in. But I mean, this is overwhelming to me, but I know it's only a percentage of the information in your brain and your books that you have. But this is a great start for someone like me, so thank you.
You're welcome. Let me just share with you one more thing before we go. I was praying to find out what I should do with all this information, and Heavenly Father told me that if I just give everything I know to you, that He will give much more to me. So I'm giving it all, everything that I can. And I know it's not everything. You know, you're going to have to go to some of these books and things to figure out a lot of what I'm talking about. But I really am power packing this because I've been told to do that. And I know that we will all be blessed as a result. So I hope that this is helpful, and I love you all. I think you're amazing. And I'm excited for the changes and the improvements that are being made, and for the inspiration that you're each receiving. So keep it going. Doing great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Have a wonderful night.
See you.
Thank you.